But the big breaking news we're bringing you on WION this hour. Pakistan once again stands exposed on terror. The Lashkar-e-Taiba has created a special team to provide security cover to none other than the global terrorist and the Jamaat-ud-Dawa chief Hafiz Saeed. WION has accessed the exclusive photograph of the specially trained LET men who will provide security to Saeed. Their picture is up on your screens right now. These men will provide Saeed security cover round the clock, even when he travels outside of Lahore for engagements. The Lashkar men will also carry ammunition. Saeed was released from protective custody in Pakistan very recently. That's a big story we're tracking for you on WION this hour. Exclusive pictures of the special security team that's going to provide cover to not a politician, not a member of parliament, but Hafiz Saeed, a globally designated terrorist by the United Nations, a man who carries a $10 million bounty on his head, which was named by the United States, no less. Hafiz Saeed also happens to be the mastermind of the 26/11 terror attack in Mumbai. This is the big news this hour. Pakistan again exposed as far as its relationship with terror networks go. The Lashkar-e-Taiba, the LET, has created a special team to provide security cover to the global terrorist and the chief of the Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Hafiz Saeed. The picture on your screen right now is the exclusive photograph that WION has accessed of the specially trained LET men who will be providing security to Saeed. These men will be giving him round-the-clock cover even when he travels outside Lahore for engagements. The Lashkar men will also be carrying ammunition. Saeed was first released from protective custody in Pakistan very recently. Now, let's give you an idea of who exactly Hafiz Saeed is. He's a globally designated terrorist. He is the mastermind behind the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. He is somebody who carries a $10 million bounty on his head. He's currently at GT Road in Gujranwala in Pakistan to give a sermon after Friday prayers. He openly spews venom towards India. He openly asks Pakistanis to respond to the call of arms to carry out attacks on Indian territory. He is the bone of contention between India and Pakistan, a man who has been proscribed by the United Nations as a terrorist. He's a man who carries a $10 million bounty on his head. And right now, Pakistan is providing lip service once again, asking India to initiate dialogue for peace. That's their Pakistani Army Chief General Qamar Bajwa, who just yesterday said that Pakistan is open for talks with India, and yet we hear of this new team being formed for the protection of none other than Hafiz Saeed. On the phone line with me right now is WION's Islamabad Bureau Chief Taha Siddiqui. Taha, good evening. Thanks for speaking with us. Do we have any more details about the security cover that's intended for Hafiz Saeed?
Well, basically, Aisha, from what we know, the chief of Jamaat-ud-Dawa, Hafiz Saeed, has had a security detail for ever since he got out of the house arrest that he was under just a few weeks ago. And from my understanding and from what local sources tell us, he basically travels with at least two four-wheelers, one in front, one behind, and then there are security personnel inside his car, the one that he's traveling, which is usually an SUV or a four-wheeler drive also. So in the sense that the total number of people that are traveling with him are around about 4 or 5 in the front car and 4 or 5 in the back vehicle, and then 3 or 4 with him on his vehicle. So there's around about 12 to 15 people on with him, providing him around 24-hour security and follow him around wherever he goes.
Right. Taha, the picture we're looking at is almost, for the uninitiated, it would look almost as if it's, a passing out class from a military academy. The number of people, clearly at least 50 to 60 people in that photograph. Is there any possible indication of who might have provided them with military training, given that we're given to understand that they're going to be armed with ammunition as well?
No, the trainings that are provided. So we do know that there are still some camps that exist on the in the Pakistani Kashmiri side, which are sort of giving training to militant groups, different Kashmiri militant groups, including the Lashkar-e-Taiba, including other Jaish-e-Mohammed and other groups like that. As far as the training provided, who's providing them the training, if you remember in the 80s, during the Soviet jihad, a lot of these militant groups were provided training by the Pakistan military and with the help of Saudi money and the American money. And from then onwards, they've gotten, the trainings have been passed on to the next generation, and that continues on even till today. Perhaps that's how you see such an organized form of, training that they are getting in these photos and in these visuals.
All right, stay with me, Taha. With me on the phone line as well is Pakistani security and strategic analyst, Mr. Qamar Cheema. Mr. Cheema, good evening. Thanks for speaking with us here at WION. Does this smack in some ways of the LAT's growing brazenness in the way it operates on Pakistani soil?
Well, I think as far as these visuals are concerned, which I was just told that they have been shown, I think LAT doesn't exist at the moment. It has been dismantled completely, and there is no sign of LAT. But since I think we have this Indian obsession with Lashkar-e-Taiba and all these things, so they will keep up coming and it will keep on happening. But I think the government of Pakistan's stance is very clear. They do not support Hafiz Saeed. When Hafiz Saeed was put behind bars, the DGISPR said this is a policy decision by the state to have him behind the bars, but unfortunately, having no allegations proven, so the court had to release him. So I think there's nothing like that, and the process and the time and the situation we are passing, the government of Pakistan and the state of Pakistan cannot let at any cost that any non-state actor or any such kind of thing.
All right, let me ask you this, Mr. Cheema. Can I ask you, do you feel that Hafiz Saeed is a liability for Pakistan?
Well, I think I have been talking this long that any person who has been sanctioned under UN Security Council resolution and the person who has not brought good name to Pakistan is liability in any case.
All right, so why do you think, if he is a liability, what do you think has prevented Pakistan from being able to provide credible evidence against him, which has basically led to him being released from house arrest?
Well, the problem is that for me, as an independent analyst, for me, what is important and what is significant that comes from the government of Pakistan. That is a credible and reliable source of information. Anything that is coming from India, we do not trust and rely on that.
Let's leave India aside, sir. Let's leave India aside. I'm not asking you this from the point of view of India. I'm saying that the United States has put a $10 million bounty on this individual. The United Nations has proscribed him as a global terrorist. So it's not just India that's raising questions about Mr. Hafiz Saeed. A number of other parties are as well. So what you're saying to me strikes me as, sort of interesting, almost ironic, that on the one hand, you do accede that he is a liability, but on the other hand, you're saying that you have to believe what Pakistan's government says as far as this individual goes. Isn't there a schism in that point of view?
I think this is correct. For me, anything that comes from the government of Pakistan, Foreign Office of Pakistan, that is a credible source of information, not coming from anywhere else. But as I mentioned earlier, the government of Pakistan, even the Prime Minister of Pakistan, has said that categorically on Hafiz Saeed and his party. We have a very clear approach on that. And putting him behind bars was very clear. But unfortunately, since the state has said that we don't have any kind of evidences, so that is what we have to say, because we don't have any evidence.
But as a citizen of Pakistan, do you find the sort of speeches that Mr. Hafiz Saeed gives openly, brazenly in public view, do they embarrass you?
Well, I think Hafiz Saeed has an independent policy. Hafiz Saeed has an independent point of view. Why would I be embarrassed by what he says, what he doesn't say? I do not subscribe to his perspective, or I subscribe to his perspective. That is something else. So any person in Pakistan, for example, having a policy on Kashmir that India is committing human rights violation, is this an embarrassment? This is not an embarrassment.
But I could also tell you that that's Pakistan's point of view. That is Pakistan's point of view. It is an internationally accepted point of view as far as these alleged human rights violations go. I'm asking you that as a citizen of Pakistan, as a citizen of a country that is constantly in the glare of global attention, a country which has just been put on notice by the United States, one of your strongest allies, isn't it the simpler route, isn't it the easier route to actually just take action against an individual like Hafiz Saeed?
Well, I think we cannot be intimidated by anyone, be it United States or be it anyone else. We have our independent policy. Whatever that policy, we have to follow that. But as far as your question is concerned, what Hafiz Saeed is concerned, is this an embarrassment for me? Well, if Hafiz Saeed is saying that India is violating international law, India is not giving a right of self-determination to the Kashmiri people, this is not embarrassment. I think this is an embarrassment for your country.
But doesn't Pakistan have enough problems to deal with within its territory, sir? We're talking about, human rights violations in Balochistan, where Kashmir is not your territory, sir. Kashmir is anything but your territory. I'm going to have to stop that conversation right there. I'm sorry, I'm not going to give you time and space to make a comment such as that. Kashmir is definitely not your territory. Let's leave it at that. Taha Siddiqui and Qamar Cheema, thanks both for joining on the broadcast. The United States could add Milli Muslim League and some other Pakistan-based groups to a list of organizations that use terrorism to promote their agenda. For those of you who don't know, Milli Muslim League is the political wing of the man we were just talking about, Hafiz Saeed. The United States has accepted India's request to label more Pakistani terror groups as globally designated terror ones. The request was made at the first India-US conference on designation of terror masterminds and organizations held in New Delhi last week. While the US government has not named the organization it will recognize as terror groups, sources say that the Milli Muslim League might be on top of the list. The MML was launched in Pakistan in August this year. In fact, Pakistan's own election commission has refused to register the MML as a state-recognized political party because it's known to have links with Hafiz Saeed, who has been declared as a terrorist by the United Nations and carries a $10 million bounty on his head by the United States. And speaking of the Milli Muslim League, the head of which, by extension, is the man on your screens, Hafiz Saeed. Pakistan, of course, standing exposed once again on its stand as far as terror goes. The LET has reportedly created a special team to provide security cover to the global terrorist and JUD chief Hafiz Saeed. On the phone line with me right now, Lieutenant General Raj Qadian. General Qadian, thanks very much for speaking with us here at WION. Is this further evidence of the fact that no matter who might be issuing threats to Pakistan, such as the United States, little is going to change on the ground?
There is no doubt of evidence. The world fully knows where Pakistan stands on the subject of support to terrorism. On one hand, General Bajwa says that Hafiz Saeed, like any normal Pakistani, can do ABC. Yesterday he said so in support of Kashmiri people. But every Kashmiri is not provided protection, that too from terrorists. In a democracy, if there are certain categories of people who need protection, the state provides them. You don't expect somebody to have a private army. What kind of a democracy? Hafiz Saeed is an asset of the Pakistan army. They have been using him to attack India. They will continue to use them. Americans are already paying kind of lip service. They give verbal threat to Pakistan, but they have also de-linked LET from Haqqani networks, thereby clearly indicating that LET is not their worry. Haqqani is because they are operating in Afghanistan.
Has the
so it's our bad to be able to contend with it. Pakistan will continue to behave irrationally, not like a normal democracy.
allow me to come in. As far as Pakistan goes, you're spot on in your analysis. But can I ask you, is the United States' own flip-flop as far as its position on LET, on JUD, does that cause further problems for India? And in that sense, what is the point of these dialogues, for instance, on the nomenclature and the designation of global terrorists with the United States really going to have?
Every country runs its diplomacy and foreign policy as per their own interests. American interests are in Afghanistan, and they have to keep Pakistan humored. They have to keep Pakistan on the right side. Since India is their major partner, especially in the naval side, in the South China Sea, etc., to contain China, so they will keep making statements to placate India. But I don't expect America to take any real action against Pakistan on the subject of Hafiz Saeed or LET. As I said, they've already delinked it. Their worry is Haqqani networks, as long as the American security forces in Afghanistan get their supplies through Pakistan undisturbed, I don't think it is their worry. So they will issue more threats, maybe they will continue saying you're doing but you're not doing enough, etc., etc. But it is our worry. It is our boat. We have to row it. We have to find a solution to the problem. And that solution only is when we are successfully able to deter Pakistan from supporting terror attacks against India.
Fair enough.
Whatever method we have to use.
Fair enough. General Qadian, I have one last question for you. The picture of this group of individuals that's going to be providing security cover to Hafiz Saeed round the clock. As a military man yourself, if you'd looked at this picture, it would seem almost as if it's one of, the passing out class at a military academy. Is that telling perhaps of where the training for these men has come from?
Providing security can be legitimate. We also have a lot of people who are provided security. But in a democracy, the security required is provided by the state. People who are providing security, they belong to the state. They have their authorized licensed arms. You don't expect a person to raise his private army and use terrorists for your protection. That is an open admission that they are supporting Hafiz Saeed. They are worried about his life and they are asking him that you find your own terrorists to protect you. That cannot be acceptable in the world community. That is what I am objecting to.
All right. General Qadian, thanks very much for joining us with your perspective on a story we'll be keeping a track on.